If you ride with Uber or if you drive with Uber, you're going to find this video interesting. The subject is going to be what gets riders irritated. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, Mark here with Uberhints.com. Are you thinking of driving for Uber? You know, there's all kinds of bonuses, guarantees, incentives waiting for you. Find out what they are. Go to Uberhints.com and please sign up using my referral code. Now, what am I talking about? Things that get riders irritated. Well, if you have watched my videos at all, you know that my number one Uber hint, for Lyft or any type of ride share, if you're going to drive with these companies, my number one hint is get out there and take a few rides. Find out what it's like from the other side. And man, do you find out a lot of things. This morning, I had to go somewhere, so I decided to take an Uber. And let me tell you about the experience. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of my driver. He's probably watching, and he ended up being a really cool guy. But in the process leading up to this, had I not been a driver, I probably would not have understood his situation, and I would have got darn frustrated. So let me tell you how it all started. I requested a ride. I saw a couple of cars in the area. I figured there was one to the northwest and one to the southeast. They're about equidistant away. I figured either one is probably 10 minutes away from me. So I put in my request. I got the response, 12 minutes away. I thought 12 minutes, cool. I can use that time wisely. I had a subject for a video. So I sat down and I actually recorded a video that I knew would be 10 minutes or less in length. And I mean, you know me, I don't like to waste time. Anytime that I'm sitting there, I want to be doing something, right? So I got done with the video and I looked, and the guy was exactly where he was 12 minutes away. And I thought, what in the heck is going on? My natural inclination was to cancel the ride. But of course, now that I was already 5 minutes past, if I canceled the ride and got somebody else, I would be charged for that ride. I'd be charged a cancellation fee. I didn't want that to happen. Now, I knew I could cancel, and I could tell them that that car hadn't moved in probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 minutes, something like that. But I didn't want to go through the rigmarole. So what I did is I contacted the driver. The first thing I did was I put in the phone call. Contact your driver. It went to voicemail. Irritant number 1. So then I looked and it said, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And I thought, you'll be there in 15 minutes. It was supposed to be a 12-minute distance to me. I understand app's not perfect, but we've already been waiting for 7 or 8 minutes. What's happening? I sent him an email. Or not an email, a text, I'm sorry. I said essentially, you know, I see your car. I know you've been sitting in the same spot. What's going on? Are you going to be here to pick me up? And he said, on my way, be there in 5 minutes. I looked at the app. He was still where he was. I know he wasn't going to be there in 5 minutes. Irritant number 2. If you're going to come straight, if you're delayed, I would rather you tell me, I had a delay, I'm coming, it'll be 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Don't tell me 5 minutes when I know better. I can see you on the app. I know you're not 5 minutes away. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, okay. And I think, to back up a little bit, one of the things I did see is initially when he accepted, it said he's currently on a ride and he's going to drop off that rider and he'll be there to see you. But I could see on the app the drop-off site for that rider was only 2 to 3 blocks away from it. And he was there for, like I said, 8 minutes or more. When he texted me and said, I'll be 5 minutes, he had not dropped off the first rider. Irritant number 3. So what I'm getting from this driver are what I perceive to be lies, right? All right. So eventually I see him start moving, and then he makes a pretty straight shot and he comes to pick me up. And let's just stop there. Let's pause the story there, because that was the rider side of the issue. We're about to find out the driver side of the issue, okay? The rider side of the issue is I have an expectation of a pickup in a certain amount of time. I can see the car, it's not moving. I don't know what the guy's doing. I don't know if he's having a smoke, if he's screwing around with his buddies, if he's having car trouble and he can't come and get me. I don't know. So there's where my frustration starts. Then I'm getting multiple messages that I know are not exactly right. He's not going to get there in 5 minutes. He doesn't pick up the phone and answer. So that's throwing me a little bit. And finally, when he gets there, it's, I don't know, 20 minutes or more from what I was expecting, 11 or 12 minutes. All right, now we're going to take a look at the driver's side. So he got there, and I wasn't angry or upset, but I did say to him in a calm voice, "Hey, what's going on? What was the delay?" He didn't know I was an Uber driver, by the way. Most of the time, I don't tell people I'm an Uber driver. I did end up telling this guy. So he got there, and in his favor, he did apologize. That, I think, is so incredibly important. Don't make excuses. When something goes wrong, most times people really don't care what goes wrong. What they care about is they've been inconvenienced. Are you going to acknowledge and recognize that? If I just say, "Sir or ma'am, I'm terribly sorry for the delay. I'm going to do all I can to make up the time and get you there safely." If I say something like that, that does so much to cut that tension and relieve that anxiety that that person is feeling. And he did a great job of that. He said to me, I apologize. And I said, "Well, what was happening?" And he said, "Well, I had a ride right before you." Good. So now I know he's telling me the truth, because I could see that on the app. One of those wonderful things about being a rider, if you never experience it from the rider side, you never get to see that. I could see where he was. I knew that he had a rider. When he told me that, I felt a little better again. All right, he's being honest with me. He said, she wanted to stop at a store, and she was taking a really, really long time. Now I can almost hear some of you, because remember when I had that video about 6 months back about do you stop at fast food places and so on and so forth? If it's just one ride, not that big a deal. But now that Uber is more often attaching secondary rides before you even finish with the first, that can have a huge impact on the next person you're going to pick up, as we just found out. So I said the lady took a lot of time. So that is why I saw his car sitting there. Well, hey, I could relate, right? I understood the situation, being a driver myself. And that's when I told him, yeah, I'm a driver myself. And we got talking a little bit about this channel and what I do. So that's why I'm saying he might very well even be watching this, because, I did kind of clue him into the Uber Hints channel. One thing I didn't ask him about, and he didn't address, and he seemed like an awful nice guy, and I didn't want to, create any tension by calling him on things. But I did not like the fact that he said he'd be there in 5 minutes, and I could see on the app he was 11 minutes away. I would have rather he said, "I'm going to get there as soon as I possibly can. I'm very sorry for the delay." I would have rather had that type of a text than 5 minutes, because all that's going to do is add to my anxiety and my frustration, right? I didn't get anxious and frustrated over it, because I saw the app. I knew where he was. I knew how long it was going to be. But to say 5 minutes when you're 11 minutes was not a good idea. Maybe a minor point, maybe a major point, I don't know. But my point is, when you become a rider, you can learn so many things. Now, based on that ride, Not that I would have done those types of things anyway, but based on that ride, it lets me know how the rider feels and things that I should certainly do better. Now, perhaps he could not answer the phone. Maybe that rider was in the car with him and he wanted to maintain his professionalism by not picking up the phone and talking to somebody else. I have to give him that. But he certainly did text me and said, I'll be 15 minutes. Okay, that was okay too, because that gave him his 11 or 12 minutes plus he added a little bit of a buffer. So he didn't do everything all wrong, but it was frustrating to me to see that car waiting and waiting and waiting. I would have rather had that explanation prior to all this happening, so I could have put myself at ease. I could have maybe stopped thinking that I should cancel on him. And I may have canceled him, right? I could have canceled him. He could have lost out on a job just through not having earlier communication. So, like I said, I don't want to come down on him too hard. He was a great guy. He got me to my destination. A couple things I thought of doing. I thought, what am I going to do? Should I cancel? I already explained that to you. Then I thought, should I rate him low for all of this, monkey business? Should I not tip him? I ended up giving him 5 stars, and I tipped him $3 for an $11 ride. I know a lot of you are thinking, Mark, crying out loud, why do you do that? I guess more than anything, I did that out of empathy. I did that out of compassion. I kind of understood his situation. But I suspect that the average rider is not going to understand that situation, are they? The average rider is simply going to think, this guy was late, this guy was deceptive, this guy was hard to get hold of, and I'm not going to tip and I'm going to rate him low. Knowing what I know from the other side, I think that would be a kind of harsh and unfair analysis of this particular ride. Agree? Disagree? I'd love to hear your comments down below. As always, I thank you for sharing, for watching, for subscribing especially. And I'm Mark from Ub-erX.com.